Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome today to my review of the new updated Squale 1545. Now this is not the first 1545 I have looked at on the channel, but the last time I looked at one it looked quite different to how it looks today. Now I'm not going to go into a 20-minute historical exposition of Squale and their watches. If you want that, there's a certain other channel that can help you out. Suffice to say, Squale were a case maker and a watchmaker of some repute. In the 60s and 70s, they were killed off by the quartz crisis, and then they were relaunched in 2010 with different owners. And the model that relaunched them in 2010 was the 1545. This 1545, a straight up Rolex Submariner lookalike. Classic Rolex indices, classic Mercedes hands, Cyclops over the date, 3-link oyster style bracelet, all straight out of the Subby playbook. Indeed, here is the old 1545 in a sandwich of other Rolex lookalikes, with the Jeannot Ocean Rover on the left and a Phoebus PY003 on the right. But that was then, and this is now. And this is what the Squale 1545 currently looks like. The silhouette remains similar, but this one is definitely not a one-for-one copy of a Rolex anymore. I personally think that Squale used the old model to get some traction in the market, get some sales on the board, get some money in the bank, and give them therefore the opportunity to release other more interesting models from their own back catalogue. When that was achieved, they quietly discontinued the old Rolex alike and then quietly released this much improved new one. Now I did not just buy this one, but I know a man who did. Mr. P. Stephen, my good friend and my business partner at EREBUS Watches. He bought this one last November and he loaned it to me to have a look at it, so let's flip the camera and do just that. Alright, let's get into it, and let's start by discussing the brand name. Now, you've heard me pronounce it several times already. I call it Squale. My first exposure to the brand, I'm sure like many of yours, was through TGV's channel many years ago before I even started this channel. Technically though, Squale means shark in French. This is a Swiss brand, so we should all be pronouncing it Squale, but I went to an event hosted by the brand here in Sydney last year where they launched an Australia special edition, a kind of collab, and I met the man in charge of the brand. His name, Fabio Ferrari. I kid you not, it does not get more Italian than that. So I'll continue to call them Squale, you can call them Squall, you can call them whatever you like. It just doesn't matter. What matters is the watch inside the box, and there is the watch inside the box. It looks nothing like the old one. It really doesn't. Alright, let's talk price early today, as it always helps add context to what we're looking at. If you look at Squale's website, the price on this one on the Tropic strap is 695 Swiss francs. That's 800 plus US dollars. However, that's not what Mr. P paid. He paid 800 Aussie dollars, which is 525 US dollars. That's a much more reasonable price. In actual fact, I think that's a pretty good price for what you're getting. Because what you're getting is a classic 4020 dive watch from a Swiss brand with a Swiss movement in the back that looks good and wears really comfortably thanks to that Tropic strap. Let's do dimensions then, because I have given you a couple of them already. 40mm in diameter with 20mm between the lugs. Thickness I measure at 11.9. That's really pretty good, under 12mm thick, especially considering the water resistance rating. Lug to lug of 47.5, and on the scales as supplied on this very nice soft and compliant FKM rubber Tropic style strap, it weighs in at 95 grams. Crystal is flat sapphire, not sure how much AR is on the underside of that. 300 meters of water resistance, 30 atmos, screw down crown, and the movement in the back, Swiss made, needs a Swiss movement. This one is a Sellita SW200. Can't see it though because it's a closed screw on stainless steel caseback. High polished edges with a little bit of laser etching for the Squale logo. And the obligatory spec sheet. Now I'm not going to peel this sticker off, but it does show that the watch is pretty much box fresh. So if you pick up one of these for yourself, this is what you're getting. Sellita 26 jewel, roughly 40 hour power reserve. And stated tolerances of -20 to +30 seconds per day from this standard grade. It definitely still has a bit of a Submariner silhouette from the top, and it definitely has a similar profile from the side as well. all high polished, rather slab sides with the downturn at the tips, all kind of classic Submariner stuff. I must say though, the brushing on the upper lug surfaces is far nicer, far more refined than it was on the old 1545. I remember that being one of my moans and niggles back in the day. That is a big crown, nice and easy to operate, especially because it's unguarded. Again, a point of differentiation, they have removed the crown guards, further separating it from the old Rolex. In terms of bezel, it is a 120 click unidirectional rotating dive time bezel. Now, I'm not convinced that this one 100% lines up. It can be made to line up, but yeah, there's definitely a little bit of bounce back with this one when you do move it into position. The strap's good, perhaps you already intimated that. Lovely, soft and compliant, super comfortable on wrist. I'm really enjoying these new FKM rubber style Tropics. So much nicer than the stiff ones that I was dealing with 4 or 5 years ago. Shame it doesn't have quick release spring bars there, especially as the watch itself does not have drilled lugs. Nice taper though, as is the way of these Tropics, and you have got those double retainers. High polished sides of the case, high polished hardware, again with the Von Buren family crest, a nod to another era of Squale, the original era back in the 60s and the 70s. Right, dial and hands then, let's get some of that macro involved once more. Now this is the grey colour version. Some of the others, I believe, the blue one particularly has a brush finish on the dial. This one has no such finish. It's just a plain matte grey, kind of a blue grey. I really like the colour actually. It complements the slight Fotina look to the hands, to the indices and to the bezel pip very nicely. So not 100% Rolex, but not 100% not a Rolex, if you see what I mean. Batons at the 12, the 6 and the 9. No baton at all at the 3. Just a simple date frame, no cyclops above the date complication either. Circular applied indices everywhere else, all with silver surrounds, printed minute track around the outer edges. A little bit of red here as well, the tip of the second hand, all 4 points of the compass, and then the big Squale shark sitting beneath the pinion. The hands are definitely another move away from the Rolex lookalike. No Mercedes hour hand on this one, just flat, high polished silver fence post with plenty of room for lume. And the final point of differentiation, that index at 12, quite unusual. You've got sloping high polished edges. You would normally find that more on a Gada style watch. You've also got that colour that bleeds from the index onto the dial printing, giving you a little bit of continuation between those two different areas, between those two different parts of the watch. The ceramic bezel insert is perfectly colour matched to the dial as well today. It is full gloss though. You'll see the way that it attracts the light when I get it on wrist in just a second. Overall though, I like the look and I like this grey colour version. I think Stephen bought very well. That's it on wrist. I have got an average size 7-inch wrist for your reference. There is a reason why I have recommended this Submariner silhouette so many times. I think it's almost a bit of a rite of passage that people go through one of these watches on their watch journey, whichever direction they end up going. It's great to have this as a bit of a benchmark because it just wears so well. 40-20 with a manageable lug to lug of under 48, and that strap is a treat. It's a bit of a delight. Under 12mm thick as well, nice and slim, no protrusion from the case back, and a bit of downturn from those lugs. Very nice indeed on wrist. You can see what I mean about the light play from that high polished bezel though, especially in combination with the sapphire. Maybe they could have done something a bit different there. And the handset isn't enormous either. Plus they Fotina'd them, legibility not really outstanding, so do bear that in mind if you have eyes that need a little bit of assistance. This one isn't giving them all that much assistance. All right, moans and niggles, well you've heard most of them already. Maybe I would have preferred a matte finish on this bezel insert, high gloss. I don't know, maybe I'm just going through a moment where I'm not into glossy bezel inserts. Hands and indices are slightly small. I know they used to do a 1545 Maxi, which had the Maxi sized hands and indices in the past. I would love to see them bring back this new 1545 V2 with slightly larger hands and indices. Bezel pip, I can get it to line up, but I'm not sure that it naturally lines up, put it that way. And then there's the lume. I've never been all that impressed with Squale lume in the past. I don't think it's something they give enough attention to. Doesn't look bad initially and it's Fotina'd, so there's always a trade-off there. But when I turn the speed up, it fades far too quickly, and at the end of the test, it's pretty much gone. So yeah, definitely room for improvement there as well. But overall, this is really nice. If you can pick one up for a little bit of a discount on retail like Stephen did, there's a lot to be said for this. Swiss made, Swiss movement, great brand name, and nobody is going to accuse you of wearing a Rolex wannabe like perhaps they might have done with the older model. You wonder whether Squale would have been better releasing something more original like this in the first place rather than the old look-alike, but hey, I guess it got the runs on the board for them. That's my estimation, so you can't criticise them for that at all, and at least we've got this one now. Very nice indeed. So there you have it. This entry-level Squale now has more than enough character of its own that you're not going to mistake it for another Rolex wannabe. It still has the classic silhouette though, and it still wears really nicely as a consequence. Now, there are plenty of more interesting microband dive watches out there, but at the right price, one of these still makes a great daily driver. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. You're clearly a fan of the brand. If so, click here for one that's old or here for one that glowed. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.